Topics may be triggering for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, if you like our show, if you like listening to Kay and I talk, please subscribe to our YouTube show and come check it out, like it, comment it. Let's get the word spread so hopefully it can help more people.
Welcome to Recovering with Friends. Tonight I got my friends Sam and Jason with us, and give a quick second for them to introduce themselves.
Sam Cummings. I am here just hoping to be able to spread the message that recovery is possible and kind of being able to dive into some of the ins and outs that we face on a daily basis, and that hopefully someone gets something out of it.
Hi, I'm Jason Capone, and I'm here to help to show anybody that it is possible to have an outgoing lifestyle as we normally would have, and still be able to have an outgoing lifestyle that we can still have and enjoy life the way it's supposed to be done.
I'm Seth Fournier, and I am here for the same reasons these guys are. It's just to promote some awareness, and hopefully some of the discussions we have helps other people. Tonight we're just going to be talking about friends and how friends affect our recovery. For me, it was a huge thing looking at friends when I started out my recovery, and like who I associate with for good and bad. I mean, there's the negative that comes, like a lot of friends I had to change. Or not change, but I had to hang out with less or be a little bit more careful about because they didn't necessarily bring out the best. The longer I've gone into recovery, the more that I can be around them, and it's a little bit less difficult there. But then I've also found in recovery, I've met some of the greatest friends that I've had, and people that I would never thought of being friends before, and it's a pretty cool experience. But how does friends change you guys' recovery? How about you, Sam?
For me personally, I had to take a really good look at my friends that I had while I was in active addiction. I didn't really have a lot of using friends. Most of my using was done in isolation. But I had some friends that weren't necessarily good for my recovery that I had to distance myself from. But my journey into recovery also kind of showed who I was friends with that was outside of recovery, who was actually cheering for me in my recovery, if that makes sense. And then I've also met tons of people that I would consider friends that I met through my recovery process. I lived in sober living for a while, and I was surrounded by other women who had the same goal as me, and got pretty close to a lot of them. And then kind of moving back to town, I kind of had in my head I'm not going to meet anyone in town who's in recovery that I'm going to be able to be friends with. But by going to meetings in town, I was definitely proven wrong in that aspect. So yeah.
I hear that meetings change, and like I said, I met people that I never would have guessed that I was going to end up being friends with them. Develop some really cool relationships with them.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Jason? How friends affect your recovery?
Well, that could go either way on that. Friends, well, in this type of community and where we live and grow up with, a lot of my friends I still have. I have a very tight circle of people who I consider not just friends, but family part of. I have people that I met through other people as friends, and maybe invested the same waste of time as some could say.
Yeah.
And then to lo and behold, to be able to sit down on a couch and still consider one of the friends a really good dear friend of mine as well. So it goes very personal with me. I have a lot of friends that I've had throughout my time where going through my recovery, they are very supportive. They are rooting for me. They are my rocks. Not only just them, but my other friends, where I'm coming into these meetings and finding the same type of mentality that I didn't really think that was out there when I was first trying to figure out if I wanted to be part of this recovery. That's kind of can be scary. Not sure. Like now, you got to think about a different lifestyle or different friends, or how do we go about doing that? And then in reality, it's not that scary. Not that scary at all. And you'll be surprised of the people that you do meet within these types of halls are people that you associated with in the past as well. Sometimes maybe, but on top of that, you do find out real quick who your friends are. Because your friends can be considered your close, that's your family. The acquaintances that I've had before, I don't associate with that type. We don't have nothing else in common.
That's a great way to put it. Because like with friends, I mean, and it's kind of crazy. Like some of my biggest supporters or big supporters is friends that still use and do other things, but they cheer me on. They see how good it's for me. They ask me questions about it with a check in, and it's like they look at me almost like at times it's like a example or whatever. It's really kind of neat. So like I kind of thought,
almost.
yeah, and I kind of thought like I might have to cut off some friends and stuff. I found that very little, but I like how you hit acquaintances. There's quite a few acquaintances that it's like okay, there's nothing else I had in common with you besides using.
Right. Yeah. I think we're going to come in contact with a lot. Like, people are still using, or their type of use is not my type of use, right? My personal self-recovery is what I need to do for myself, and it has nothing to do with, I'm not judging them because they're not judging me. And in fact, if anything, they're supporting me. And in reality of things, like I think you almost was just saying it right there too, Seth, as far as being that type of role model, that might spark something within them too at the same time, going, maybe I might need to talk to these guys a little bit more about recovery.
Well, and something you just hit on is like looking at these friends and stuff and like still going, and I don't find that I super judgmental about it. Everybody's thing is their own, and like because I had a problem with it doesn't necessarily mean they had a problem, or maybe they do, but it's up for them to be, but like still be supportive and not judging them. That's one of the stigmas like going into all this that I was kind of scared of, like some of the old school people in recovery that are like, well, kind of the arm's length, like as soon as they hit recovery they like everybody's bad except for this or here, and I just don't believe it. I mean, what's your experiences with it, Sam? I mean, dealing with friends and like there's people that are out there, I don't know my experience, there's people out there that are still friends and still really good friends, and yes, it's changed our relationship, but it hasn't ended the relationship.
I know, like I had kind of mentioned earlier, like my recovery journey has really brought certain friendships that I have like to the test. When I was actively using and just like really unstable, I had like one friend that I'm thinking of in particular. We've been friends since like 6th grade. She had to kind of distance herself from me for a little bit until I kind of figured some shit out. But once I took the step into recovery, she was one of my biggest supporters. Like, she was reaching out via text, like FaceTime, just like, how are you doing? Like, I know when I was in rehab the first time, she sent me a package with cigarettes and Dum Dum lollipops and a book. And it's just like, just getting that package, it was just like, okay, yeah, like, this is super cool. It was just the simplest fucking thing ever, but it made my day.
Goes a long ways.
And I know that, because like I had used with her not my drug of choice, but I had used other drugs with her growing up, like early 20s, music festival days, that kind of thing. And I always felt that, like, there was no judgment from her with my usage. But I always kind of had in the back of my head that, like, oh, if I were to throw this recovery thing in the trash, I could always go back to this person. And I remember I had been living in sober living for probably like 2 or 3 months, and I had just gotten out of rehab, and I was there for 2 or 3 months, so it had been a significant amount of time, and I had relapsed out of the sober house, and my first text was to this person, and I was just like, hey, can I come stay at your house tonight? And she texted me back, and she was just like, you know, like, it really kind of hurts me that you think that I'm going to bail you out, because you clearly have relapsed, because you're not just randomly asking to stay at my house when you're living in sober living. And she's like, you need to call your mom or I'm going to. And it was just like, it was a real eye-opener for me that, like, she was more of a friend than I even knew I needed at that point. Because in my head, I was just like, oh, I just need her to be able to go stay at her house and blow this off. But her friendship was actually, like, more in-depth than I realized.
You
because
meant more to it than
yeah,
that.
because she was able to call me out on my bullshit and do something that I couldn't even do for myself. Like, there was no way I was reaching out to my mom and admitting to her that I had relapsed. But she ended up calling my mom and was just like, hey, like, Sam's out and running again. You should probably check on her. And it's like, I ended up overdosing that night. And it's like, if she wouldn't have let my mom know to kind of, like, get in contact with the sober house and my sponsor or whatever, like, I may not even be here right now. And it's just like, that was huge eye-opener for me to, like, be able to see that I've put her through so much shit, but at the end of the day, like, she really just wants the best for me and wants to see me succeed in my recovery.
Sometimes it's hard to remember that friends, like, really have our back that way and care for us that way. And we want to, especially in addiction, active addiction, we want to push that away when it's like, really, lots of times they have our best interest at heart.
Right. You know, you touched on something right there where you didn't even realize that you had somebody to where, you know, like, I think it's nice to be able to have that, you know, and I think with friends that I have supported me, like, they would immediately pick me up, and those are the people that you want around you in recovery. No matter, you yourself put yourself in recovery for a reason, and then what you surround yourself is how you're going to succeed. And I'm very, very believing in that. And so again, like, the friends that I have around me are the ones that want to be able to see me succeed no matter what their lifestyle is. At the same time, what my lifestyle is and theirs, it's the same, but we do turn ourselves differently and how we approach other people, but we know how we can approach our friends. And you got to see another friend that just is, wow, I got a solid there.
The other thing I heard out of that really hits home for me is you were saying there that friends that had grown away are reaching back out, and I find that to be such a huge thing. Some friends that I thought we weren't friends anymore, or that kind of went away. How many people get back into your life as friends that never really went away? They just weren't there because, well, we didn't let them, or I didn't let them be there. I can't speak for other people. I didn't let them be there. So I ended up, like, gaining more people back in my life than the ones I had to lose. Yeah, I had to distance myself a little bit from some friends, but there's, as you kind of said, it's like I didn't have to cut myself off from any friends in particular. There's some acquaintances kind of had to, that it's just like that was the only thing we had in common. But the friends, yes, I might have distanced myself, and I noticed kind of coming back there, and there's still something I got to be careful of because there's environments I have to be careful of, and that's just the simple, hard truth about it. But
And that's exactly right. The environments that we put ourselves into, we know what we need to do for ourselves, and so we kind of avoid those environments. But that doesn't mean that we do not care for who's involved in that environment that we kind of segregated ourselves from. But when there's an environment like Jones Falls on some hard water, you know, like that's an environment where all our friends come together and we have a great time doing so.
I'm glad you brought that up because to me that's a big thing too. And like we've been working a lot at trying to get some events going and stuff, that sober things, which is pretty cool. But like the environment we meet up with our friends is like a lot of friends that like going ice fishing or going to do something together is great. But I'm not just going to go hang out at their house at night or whatever, or go to whatever, because that's when the other crap starts to happen, or it's going to sneak in or whatever. At times, a family party or whatever starts out, it's like go to it, and then it gets to the point where it's like, okay. And for me, usually it's when the instigating starts, because that was my hugest problem. I'm an instigator, and like if the instigates start, I'm gonna be like, hold on, watch this show.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been there. that happens too often. So it's like it's happened, and it's like, okay, now I gotta be careful. But it's unreal the connections that I've built from recovery, from old friends, and from new friends. A lot of really new. Like that's the one thing I love about meetings and stuff like that. I've met some people that just wouldn't have been there without that. I wouldn't have ever taken the time to get to know them and develop those friendships. But even my own friendships, like the amount of that's able to grow and change, and realizing that even though that they're maybe not in the same spot I am, that I can still have that friendship and it can go there. It's just, it might be slightly different, but it's not something that needs to be thrown away.
No, definitely not.
But, and one of my friends pointed out to me later, like, when I started this journey too, talking about, like, a lot of our friends that we have through drugs or whatever, it's like we think they're friends, but it's not. It's like, a lot of times it's a mutual using of each other. Like, I use you to get this, or you use me to get that, and the other person money or whatever, and it's kind of like we mutually, and it's like we mistake that for friendship when there was never a friendship there to start with. We mutually used each other and stuff, but true friends, they're hard to come by, and man, I've had some excellent friends stand out, I mean, that come along. But like, if you were to talk to somebody that's brand new to recovery about friends and what they should and shouldn't do, what would be your advice to them?
To just be very aware. Be aware of your friends' intentions regarding said friendship. Because like you said, a lot of people that we associated with in our active use weren't actually friends. And to just avoid trigger environments or situations where, like, you know, drugs or alcohol are going to be present regardless of what friend is there. I know for me personally, like, I had to kind of isolate myself from any of those environments for a little bit until I was more stable in my own recovery, to then be able to be like, okay, like, I know this person's going to be there who's supportive of my recovery and of me. I know this person who's going to be there who's supportive of me in my recovery, like, and then kind of talk to them before the event, you know, like, hey, if you start seeing me getting antsy or like looking for alcohol or drugs or whatever, like, call me out on it, you know, and just having like an escape route planned. I, like, for me personally, if I go anywhere, I always bring my own vehicle, so that if I start getting uncomfortable or start noticing myself having urges to join in on whatever, like, say it's a family event and everyone's drinking, I can leave at any point, you know, like, And just having kind of like that blanket understanding with the people that are going to be at said event. Like, if I leave randomly, like, it's not you guys, like, it's for me, you know? And please don't take offense to it, type of thing. And it's like, if you are going into an environment that's not family related and it's friend related and that causes issues, like, that's going to show who your real friends are in that environment. Because anyone who puts up a stink about you leaving because you feel uncomfortable in your recovery isn't really rooting for you in your recovery.
I've had that happen too with some friends almost egging it on or not understand it, going, well, you could have one or you could do this or whatever. It's like, that's not the point. I probably could, but I don't want it.
Right.
I don't. It's too slippery of a road, and the real friends understand it. The other ones don't. But now, honesty with friendship, like being on, like keeping the honesty with them, I find helps a lot too with the growth of the friendship. And it's something I wasn't good at before or whatever, but if something comes up with a friend or whatever, or as things go on, let them know where we're at. You were just hitting on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I find most of my friends, even friends that I would have second question at first, I find that, like, they're very supportive, and especially as the more honest and the more you talk with them, like, people that have their own battles, they're very supportive about recovery and stuff, and I've had a lot more of that than I have any negative interactions. I mean, how do you find that? How's that been in your life?
It's just like you said, like I run into many people that I ran through snowbankers with, quite literally, and they'll, how you doing, Gabo? How's life? Man, you look great. You look how happy you are. Like, and even if that little bit of that, more of that acquaintance type style of the interaction that I've had, but to see that reaction back towards me from a person of history, like, man, doesn't that make you feel like something, that you're doing something right? You're doing something right for yourself, and that's where it really, whether I don't need outside friends' approvals about what's going on, what I'm doing, but when I get it without even being asked for it or something, that sends a chill up my spine, going, all right, you know, I'm doing something good today, you know, I'm doing something good today for myself, and everybody that's around me is gonna have a good day.
Well, and you speak of that like that approval thing, which is really kind of cool, and I've gotten some of that from the strangest people that I wouldn't expect it to come from, people that have sold to me, or people that like are whatever, that are different things and weird things. But one of the coolest experiences I have is after the first episode came out, one of your good friends I ran into in the store, and he comes back, gives me a big pat on the back, and he's usually an extremely quiet guy. He gives me a big pat on the back, like, congratulations, that's awesome, man, I'm so proud of you. It just blew my mind away. I'm really quite close with his brother, but it surprised me hell there, and it was just, it felt so good, and it's like, also, like, it's like, wow, this stuff we're doing is making making an impact somewhere, and to some extent. It may not be exactly just because we're doing this or whatever, doesn't mean everybody's going to get sober or do that, but
No,
it brings awareness, and you can see people are thinking about it just by what we're doing, and that's the real friends. Those are the people out there, and
right.
friendships I could have never had before because of me or because of them, because they're judgmental. It's like, it allows so much more to be in place in recovery.
All that set aside is that's exactly what it is. It's like not necessarily like trying to bring awareness to, but we're bringing awareness of this something that's out there, that's something better than, but not just saying, oh, you got to be sober or this, no, it's just bringing that awareness to where friends that need to have a place to reach out, where we fell into that one time, where we had a friend of ours reach out because he had no idea what was going on. Well, he probably wouldn't have been able to reach out if he didn't have an idea what was going on, because there was some sort of awareness that was out there. And then you want to talk about support, and you want to talk about friendship. He had friends and support immediately, right then and there, right off the bat. We come rolling in hot.
Yeah.
And I like to ask him that same question, what he felt that day about what friends are, what friends mean to him. Because I know what it meant to me, for us being friends, rolling in to that friend's house and all started was because of the awareness that you're spreading stuff.
Yeah.
That we're all spreading. You're spreading.
And you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up, because like, to throw the flip side to this and all, like, I keep asking how friends affect us. How much has it improved us or you being friends to other people in recovery? I know, like, that I am able now to jump up and try to go help somebody, be there for somebody, truly listen to somebody, talk with them, spend time, go out of my way to do something that's helpful for them, because you can kind of see what's going on. Things I thought I could do before, tried to do before, but like, it's completely different now. Like, I'm able to be a much better friend to people now than I ever was in the past, because I have much clearer eyes and a clearer heart and everything else. How's recovery affected you guys' ability to be friends for other people and do those things that you were just talking, that your friends that come out that have done for you? I mean, do you find that it's changed a lot of what you're able to do because of recovery?
Oh, I mean, for sure, for all day. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be about things in recovery. Just something simple as work.
But I'm just saying, your recovery changed how well of a friend you can be.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not when I'm coming on the end of the day at work. I'm not rushing to get outside the gate, because I have other things that I really had nothing else to do. Versus being that work friend, I can stay late or do what I need to help on other jobs. I'm beginning the reaction from the trickle down effect, not just from out here, from inside work, from out like. So I'm a better person every single day, and I would have never really picked up a finger to help anybody else the way I do today. Than,
I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, I know. For me, it just makes me more aware of like the intentions that I have behind my interactions with my friends. Because like, I know before, like, I was hanging out with one of my best friends almost daily, but like the conversations that we would have or the interactions that we would have when I was like over at her house was just not substantial at all. Because I was more just going there to fill time because I didn't know how to be alone. So like if I was sitting on her couch with her watching TV in silence, like that was better than me sitting at home watching TV in silence, because at least I wasn't alone. Now it's like when I go see her, it's just we have genuine, meaningful conversations, and it's not all about me. Like when we do have a conversation, it's not like, oh, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, and then me not in return kind of ask what's going on with her. Like, I genuinely care what's going on in my friends' lives.
It right there, you care about it. It's not just saying it for small talk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like for instance, my best friend, couple weeks before Christmas, we were just talking. She was in the process of remodeling her master bedroom, and she had made a comment about how she wanted to get a new duvet cover, and how she wanted it to be rust orange. So it was just like, that stuck in my head, and I was like, that's a perfect Christmas gift for her. Like, so I went home, ordered it, and then brought it over for Christmas, and I didn't think anything of it, because I was just like, oh, like, of course I'm going to get her a Christmas gift. When she opened it Christmas Day, she sent me a text message and was just like, I can't explain to you how good it is to have friends who listen. She was just like, the fact that we were just having a random conversation about a hope and a dream that I had regarding changing my duvet cover, like, and getting a new one and changing the color, and that you absorbed that to the point where you went out and made it happen. Like, it's just so nice to know that, like, you're here and you're present and listening to the things that I have to say.
And Yeah, no, I mean, and that's something like when you're actively using whatever it is or whatever, it's like we can't get out of our own minds enough to pay attention to somebody do that. And to kind of, one last thing before we get done tonight or whatever, but like, as a friend, and especially being, we're all in recovery and stuff, it's tough watching another friend go through problems. Really tough. But being in recovery myself or whatever, it's like able to be there and still try to do the right steps so I couldn't before. But that is a thought that never like really crossed my mind before being in recovery. And I mean, it feels like if we're going to talk about friends, it's like talking on that aspect. I've had people there do it for me, and now being able to do that, do you guys find that you kind of come across some of that stuff too? I mean, obviously we all still know people that are struggling or whatever, and things that I wouldn't have really been, I would have just pushed aside before. Now I can actually address and be there for, and be that type of friend. And thank God I had friends that were there for me like that. But is it just me, or is that something you guys notice and come across with the recovery and all that too, that all of a sudden you're able to be there and help those that are still struggling without judging?
Well, that, what Sam was saying with Karen, but the reason why we care is because we can feel. We can feel like we feel like, wow, like this is like, and it's not to get gratitude or reward to ourselves. Is that we felt that this person, like something simple as a duvet, or it made me think of like I bought a football jersey for my best friend the whole time world, Phil. Watching football, like, and they thought that was the best thing, but I could never feel that what that would have meant to somebody else. Now I can feel with helping what that means for them without even giving it an eye batter on it. Now it's like that flow of caring, of the feelings we can feel. I can feel what you're feeling.
And I guess part of what I'm saying is it used to be like, as a friend, I thought it'd be like I'd have to call you out on whatever, like, oh, that's what you got to do. And now it's like I kind of realize more, even though they're struggling, I can still be their friend. Yeah, maybe say something here or there, whatever, but be their friend and hope that helps, because that's what I needed. I needed those people there for me. That's changed a lot in recovery. That I didn't understand that before, and I'm just glad I had people there to do that for me. But no, I think this was a good night, and thank you guys for coming in and talking about friends with friends.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and thank you.